Right, so I'm Pierre. I'm from South Africa. Uh, Composing music since writing music since the age of 14, and transitioning now from contemporary music into interactive music. Um, Pretty recent, so it's all new to me. Um, and yeah, I just enjoy being creative and making some cool stuff. Yeah. And then some mycology on the side, so it's a nice distraction, I guess. You get caught up in some work or, you know, you know. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much that. Sums it up.
Cool. All right. So what processes are you going to show us?
I was thinking I'd share current project I'm working on. It's a portfolio piece, and just maybe share my screen and I guess walk you through the process. But before I share, maybe let's do it at the same time. Okay, so what this or the beginning of this thing was, yeah, let's start at the beginning. It's the world that I was trying to create or like conceptualize is the idea of organic meets synthetic. So I'd imagine it's like so the world's set in like an Eastern uh, cultural setting. And from the beginning, I had the idea of trying to transition between the origin point, which is like natural environment, and then moving into like a sci-fi or a more synthetic world. And so the process started pretty much just with a like a main motif, uh, like a I think it's a koto that I chose to elaborate uh, just what was coming through. Doing some harmonic research on what the scales and stuff the culture would use or has used in the past, and then from that piece over here, I started with the organic um, idea, which then for me it was to do like orchestral stuff, but not overly like intense or too much. Um, but then transitioning from there into which is here the sci-fi theme. So this first one, labeled the player theme, is kind of like the main motif, and I was imagining it like, okay, this might be the hero's theme or tied to his identity, which then obviously features throughout um, the rest of the piece in different instruments. Um, and then, yeah, so moving then from the player theme, um, I got pretty lucky because what I've learned through the process is like transitioning then into like a sci-fi area. I noticed that there was a lot of, or it was quite easy to extract from the transitions in there to use later and elaborate on. Now, as you can, I don't want to go too deep into all the instrumentations and plugins and so on, unless there's interest, uh, and kind of structure it in a way where, okay, if or in case this person or the character, it's also set in like an open world situation. Now, within that, I was thinking, okay, if the player might encounter enemies in the open world, there needs to be, some kind of intensity and um, drive around those kind of pieces. And so each section of the different worlds, which I'll show on the expansion a little bit later, um, there were two different intensity uh, themes. Let me see if I can just open it up. Strings, percussion. Sorry, I'm a little bit flustered. Let's get okay. So here's the intensity of like the organic situation or organic level in the story. And from those pieces, so this was just a basic markup. So usually in the process, um, the idea comes out as like a little piece, and then I would elaborate on it a little bit later throughout. So then expand, for example, the orchestral or organic world that I'm trying to capture, as well as now the sci-fi world. Um, and I think if we can get there, it might be a little bit, will make a little bit more sense, I guess. So now this is then the second phase. So I'll start with the mock-up, which is main idea, main theme, and then in this case, two worlds or two levels, and then a high intensity for like an epic situation, in this case, a boss battle or so. Then to elaborate on the pieces or the mock-up, I would copy over the main mock-up and then start to break them down and usually work inward and expand on the loops and see if I wanted to um, accent certain situations. But now this is then the main motif features like, okay, the entry, opening, entering into the phase or into this organic world, and then moving on to something that's less um, distracting or not so obvious the whole time, um, as well as then a second section which has more of a main motif but different instrumentation. And here's for example, in that first level, if the character might encounter some bad guys, to keep this or to elaborate on the previous section into now a combat or a high intensity thing. Uh, Now, what I mentioned earlier in the mock-up, I think I was fortunate to when the transitions from the one world to the other world, there was like pieces that I could extract on for inspiration in the first one, which creates um, or which created, uh, excuse me, transition phases or transition pieces that I didn't have to sit and try and mock it up or restart it over. And then in the same case for the level or the different world, the sci-fi world in this case, same structure, uh, where it is a loopable state for this next level in the story. as well as then again uh, the high intensity variations and so on. And what I really enjoyed about this project, or still am enjoying, um, so coming from like a heavy metal background, I really enjoy like hard hitting stuff. And um, with this boss theme that I'm currently working on, um, I use outboard gear um, to get out of my head from the computer. So it was a nice time to explore the synthesizer and um, get out of uh, being stuck behind the screen and so on. But yeah, I guess it's just a mock-up of the project that I'm currently working on. And uh, yeah, I feel, I guess I'm a little bit nervous. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. Are you allowed to talk about the game?
it's not a game, it's a portfolio project.
Just a
So
portfolio
I'm
project.
open
Okay.
to, yeah, to share any ideas. I can't play audio. I had some technical issues, which I'm still figuring out. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I'm open to sharing.
So in your processes for this, what instruments did you end up leaning heavily on?
So the main theme was the koto, which kind of started the whole thing. Eastern string sound, and then the orchestration uh, was basically just the contact libraries. Um, I'm leaning on using Spitfire's free libraries, um, not by choice, but by situation. And then the orchestration is split up into strings and winds and brass. And for the synthetic world, outboard gear, so doing synthesizing from there, um, as well as some sine wave generators. I think it's just the. I think it's like the basic analog or like dreamy synth. I can't remember the name now, but we'll see it in a second. Uh, yeah, this one. For like the main analog sound or synth sound, but the rest was just generated from the keyboard on my right here. And then this got processed through auxiliary channels. A lot of this has like uh, heavy distortion and saturation and some ring modulation and so on. And I'm talking about this section. I wish I could play it to you guys here. There's an idea of what it might sound like. Um, I was going for trying to get like a really hard, punchy, uh, quick impact type of situation. But here I also layered it with the orchestration to give it some of the combination. Because in my mind, the world is it's not like two different things. It's the same when I'm talking about the um, organic and synthetic situation. So imagining what that would sound like is still part of the process it's developing. And you know, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, so then I guess the next step that I'll be doing after this is just to continue elaborating on uh, fleshing out the sections to expand, to have more variation to work on, and as well as developing more of or developing more music to have something more to work with.
Okay, cool. So it's like a suite that you created first, and then you created like more longer versions based on those parts.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Are you in
It's
the mix?
also
I was gonna say, have you
okay.
done any mixing?
I do. I'm not like I didn't study mixing. I studied contemporary music, um, but that was more instrumentation, piano, and voice. Um, and so the mixing, my experience with it is through composing and writing for myself and other people. I wouldn't say I'm like a pro at it yet, but it's a continuing journey. But I'm not shying away from it. I mean, it's something I really enjoy doing, and to try and do it in house is the end goal in any case. But I can show uh,
No,
my channels here.
is this Pro Tools
Yes.
or what software is this again?
No, this is Logic Pro.
Okay.
Yeah. So on my like stereo out, I do some multi-band compression, and this is still mock-up, so it's just to get kind of an idea of what the sound is requiring me to like cut out and so on. But yeah, as part of the composing process, I already start, cutting out frequencies and working on the mixing side of it.
Cool. Hopefully, we'll get to hear some of this.
Yeah, the plan is to release this on the internet eventually, because at the same time, this is creating assets so um, I can further my understanding of middleware and so on. And so there's mock-ups of that, and all these things are being documented at the same time. And I feel like just taking it a little bit slow before I start releasing things, but it's coming out, and I definitely, if you guys are interested, I'd love feedback once it's out, and also
Or
just
do you
sharing with you guys would be great.
do you plan on putting it in like Wise?
I have done a basic vertical system for the boss scene, but it's very basic at this time. Like my next step is to approach the RTPC uh, part of it to see how, when, who interacts, or I imagine as I run towards the enemy, and to just automate the intensity with that. And yeah, it's really exciting. It changed the way I approach writing music as soon as I discovered middleware.
Mm.
Um, and uh, and I think also in a not only for game audio, but as well as for like musicians and so on. I feel like it can make a new medium for them, but it's not really relevant, I guess, in this conversation.
No,
Um,
no, it is. Like, I've been wanting to use Wise for my Dungeons and Dragons sessions, just so I could, you
okay.
know, make it more interactive with the players, like,
Yes.
get into battle and stuff. So,
And how you mean like the tabletop or
mm-hmm. Or online. Yeah, there's ways to share.
okay, okay, interesting. Yeah. I'm currently working on a live performance project, but um, the basis in the project, my friend Janis, he's like pretty clued up with 3D design and so on. And why I'm saying that is because it's leading towards like trying to integrate um, middleware into randomization of, say, like an album, but not just the album itself, each track. And if maybe you guys have some feedback on this or have some experience, but the thinking right now is to, for example, take out the stems of the track, then arrange them with a vertical kind of randomization system, and to have that be a different version every time. And if we can go as far as syncing the songs across, saying track 1, track 2, track 3, all those stems, if they are in the same key, to kind of merge them and create music that we haven't thought of before or might have missed. So that's kind of the stuff we're working on, as well as then incorporating that into like virtual reality live performances somehow. Still fresh idea on our side. So yeah, I'm really excited to see where we're learning more of that program will take my thinking.
Yeah. Heavily use the sandbox. It's very helpful. You can set up states.
Heavily.
Oh yeah, especially for music, so you can make sure everything's gonna trigger correctly.
Okay,
um,
thanks.
yeah, so you can set up states to say like if this happens, switch, or yeah, if this state
Mm-hmm.
happens, have the music do this, or you could have a switch state where this happens, switch it to like low, put a low pass filter on it or something like that. So you could do a ton of stuff.
Mm. Okay, and the switch container or the switch states, um, is is that, I'm sure it is, well, is it usable within like if I have a vertical situation? If I have a vertical system, is it possible to integrate the switch states within that and have like track 2 and 3 go through there?
Yeah,
Okay, sick. Thank
you can do that. It's I'm trying to remember how it's set up because you can do like within one song segment within Wise, you basically implement like the stem that you want to play always essentially, and then if you wanted it to say like switch to a different one or add another layer, I think you like right click in that same lane and say like add another track, and then you can assign whatever switch you want to that, and then uh, say when the switch triggers, then it would add or do whatever logic you have set up in there. So you can absolutely do that.
Okay, sick. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking over.
Yeah.
I work with Bruno, so he knows if my child is screaming at me, he's like, "All right, I'll take over."
Oh, how old? Sorry, I don't know if it's a personal question, but how old is your youngling?
I have two of them. He is 4, and I have an 8-year-old as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
So he's playing Sonic, so I have to help him. He needs help again. But if does anyone else want to start talking about their processes?
I honestly just want to spectate today, so I have nothing prepared. But I would love to talk about UI stuff because I'm still learning different approaches and how to design it. I'm using FaceBlend like 100% of the time, but I'm still like experimenting a lot with different kind of processing techniques and keeping things very simple because I often work on games that need like casual sound design, so it doesn't have to be needs to be science fiction. So I tend to do a lot with granular synthesis and wavetable synthesis. And I can't really show it at this point, but in FaceBlend you can do both, and I really like to, for example, if I am making like button click sounds and things like that, I feel like I can do a lot with just wavetable synthesis and just frequency shifting and EQ, and just play with the wavetables and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I will give a little short summary. I wanted to talk. I don't really have anything to share, but it would be nice to talk about UI because this is something I'm still like discovering, and I have my own technique. I use FacePlant a lot, and I do a lot with granular synthesis and wavetable synthesis, and frequency shifting is basically my biggest friends that I use for like clicky kind of button sounds. And I feel like if something doesn't sound well, I always do like frequency shifting and do make it like more fitting within the timbre that I could use. And it feels like very nice to do for UI because when something doesn't really work, you can make it work if you just do like frequency shifting entirely. And also for button click sounds, you sometimes have to. One of my main pitfalls is to have like very transient kind of sound where you should divide it over time to have maybe a little bit click over there and maybe like a delay and then another click going there and maybe a little tail with a little texture going on, to make it more yeah, it depends on the sound as well, and it like you have like minor major kind of sounds that you have in user interface and the way it needs and how you always have to learn if you are going to design it, like how often is this going to be played, how important is the sound, and it has to have like a certain weight, and I don't really write how things should be. I mostly try to just if I start creating like placeholders and kind of stuff, I already try to think in like how thick does a certain sound need to be in terms of spectrum, and I try to just paint like different kind of sounds based on this weight. So maybe like a transition sound needs to be a little bit more broad in spectrum, a little bit longer in tail as well, where like a confirm kind of sound could be more like yeah, could also be like a very short click sound, but it might have to be a little bit more satisfying. So you could add like tonal elements to it, or you could keep it like more like yeah, it depends on what you do, of course. But yeah, I don't really have anything to show, but I just wanted to discuss. So maybe
Yeah,
I'm
UI
curious to hear about
yeah.
yeah.
Just like mixing music for me is always like I'm always learning and I am always enabling at it and I feel like I need to learn more and more. UI is the same way. It's kind of like the bane of my existence right now. Just trying to find that perfect sweet spot. It's also going to depend on what you're doing. Like if you look at Nintendo, Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, all of their UI is tonal based that matches with the music. They just like pitch it super high up so you can't hear like the arpeggio. So it just
Yeah.
sounds like a click. It's really cool. So I guess it just really depends on what you're working on. Like Star Wars, the UI stuff for the Rebels is going to sound more gritty and grungy than the Empire, where it's going to be more clean and because they all wear white and stuff. So just trying to figure out like what that works with the art, and horror games are always interesting as well, and how they do their UI. So I'm curious, is there a specific UI element you're looking for, like in a genre, or just UI in general?
It's nice that you mention all those genres, but because I'm interested in all of them, because I'm currently working on like a horror game. Also, I'm also working on a casual kind of game that's very like has to be a lot of very big player base, mainly people that are already. It's like a learning game, So, and another game is like more science fiction, for example. So those are like entirely different approaches, because like for the whole, I would say I would approach things a little bit based on, like for example, one game is like underwater game, and like the theme of it is like very gadget kind of retro aesthetic, but they use those kind of devices. So my UI sounds are going to be very tailored around those devices, So there could be a lot of synthesis or kind of synthesis, but maybe also just doing something with a very minimalistic approach, and to make things sound a little bit like an old school kind of radio gadget thing.
Oh my gosh, please, let's go find a whole bunch of old radios and record them.
Yeah. But yeah, for casual kind of things, I'm more like into using like wood or like tonal kind of elements that have a kind of ring to it. And if of course if you work with music, you always have to consider like the tones that you are using shouldn't clash. So I don't want things to be like very long until more like a very clicky, short, satisfying way, so that it's even if it would be dissonant with the music, it wouldn't really matter anymore. It is also something that I try to think about, because often when I work on those casual games, I don't have any control over the music, because there are like a lot of tracks sometimes going on, and they are all in different keys. So then it's something to yeah. But it also depends. Sometimes you have like I think the most challenging part is like the score screen, for example, if that appears, and you have like music, but that's basically also the only part where the music is like the same key, So there you could do something with the UI as well to make it more matching, and yeah. But yeah, I'm
Sorry, go ahead. I was going to ask you a question, but
yeah. Go on.
How do you approach mixing UI? Because I've noticed in a lot of not necessarily like mobile games, but a lot of like modern console PC stuff, it's very, very subtle and not like in your face in the mix type of thing. How do you approach it when you're thinking about that aspect of it?
Yeah, I think I always mix it around dialogue, and I mean dialogue is also always like a same level, and I don't try to make UI sounds. For example, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm doing everything right, but it's just I do things a lot of feeling, but I don't really have sounds that are like -1 decibel, for example, like very loud in your face. It really depends. So maybe if there would be like a very important stinger, like end game, you completed the mission, maybe like a very short transient, and then like a less sound that isn't that compressed. But yeah, it's very minimal. I think some sounds are so soft. It's like -30, like yeah, very soft. It's just like you wouldn't even notice them all sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's also like a pitfall from a lot of those some of the older games where the UI sounds was like very loud sometimes, like everything is normalized in some games. I think that's good. It could work, but if you're working on a game that needs to breathe a little bit more, then yeah.
Also, like,
I mean, I was playing Marathon today, and I'm not really fan of the UI itself, but really like the UI sounds. It's like it also shows a little bit that things are like very soft and subtle and a very oomphy, low bassy kind of, and yeah. I'm not really I'm not really sure how everything was made because it sounds also pristine. So it's nice. But
Yeah,
yeah,
they're really good at making very polished sounds for sci-fi. That's super unique to like Bungie and that whole team.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also minimal as well. You don't hear
Yeah.
a lot of things going on. It's like you can count the layers almost, and it's almost all very in the same kind of spectrum or something. Not really like very complex layering going on.
Right.
Very clean everything. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for answering that.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know. I just follow, but I try to walk around dialogue mostly because that just needs to be like the most important thing, and everything else is just like to balance it in the right way. And yeah, I don't try. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's I'm never happy as well. There's never like a point where I feel like, oh, maybe this needs to be a little bit minus 2 decibel. Yeah.
A good game that I think kind of does a good balance with voiceover and like chaos happening is Overwatch, because you can listen to the voices around you, because you have to know who's around you, and then knowing when you hit a critical or when someone's about to do their ultimate, those UI sounds come in, or like when your HP's low and stuff. Just all the stuff telling the player like what's happening. I think they did a good job on that one for balancing. I have to ask, what is the audience for your UI? Is it kids, teens?
For the casual one, it's just yeah, people from your age, I suppose. People from above between like 25 and 50 maybe. It's just people that are walking. It's like a learning game for a company.
You think I'm in that age range? That is so nice of you. I'm 38,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, just adult people.
Okay, because
But
I know sometimes like Lego, they'll do their stuff in a completely different way for children rather than like other stuff. I swear, I think there's a resource somebody posted where it is effects of every game, and it's an Excel sheet. Does anyone remember that resource? Okay, I'll reshare it again and when I find it, but I swear it has like all the UI elements of like a ton of games. And hopefully that can also help you in your quest for UI sounds.
yeah, I think so. Maybe I shared it. I remember I shared. Oh, yeah. It was I shared like a database of UI,
Yes,
but
I think
the
it
only
might have been you.
the only thing is that about that thing, those videos are like very they only contain like very niche kind of games, and you can't pause the video, so it's very annoying actually.
Okay.
But yeah, it's nice. I've also used it to do some research and but yeah, but I was just curious about like UI in general, like well, what would be like an approach that you do? Like, are there like certain synthesizers that you like to use, or like certain like change or like instruments that you use a lot to set like a foundation into certain sounds? I mean, of course, it's like very huge, you know,
Mm.
because there are so many approaches to recording it, to use synthesis. But yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, I'm interested in everything. I don't mind if it's going to be about science fiction now, because I know that you are working on like I believe those Star Wars games, right, for the mobile, and so this is mainly. Oh,
Oh, right. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Um, I think again, I think it just really depends on the style of game that it is. Because like fantasy stuff, it's mostly just like it's going to sound completely different than sci-fi. Like for sci-fi, I would probably use a mixture of things that are like shared UI sounds via a bunch of other games because you're always going to hear, not always, but most of the time you're going to hear like mechanical clicks that are just in that have reverb tails, and it's just very simple. But that's like in a Star Wars game and also like a Final Fantasy game, and they're two completely different genres. Um, so like having that mindset too helps, where it's like whatever sounds good is a good baseline for you as long as like it hits the genre that you're designing for. And then like we were talking about earlier, it just depends on what you're trying to design for. Like uh you mentioned faceplant. Like faceplant's perfect for synthesize stuff and making tonal elements and just getting really granular with it. Um,
Or even
and
Nick Von Cano's script. There's like create that he uses to
yeah,
write his UI for like when he was at Respawn. Um,
Okay.
and
yeah, it like generates a whole bunch of. You give it sounds that will say, okay, I'm going to do a whole bunch of stuff to these, and it will like spew out a whole bunch of
yeah,
variations of everything. It's really
you
nice.
basically build like a database, and then you feed that database into it, and then it just does whatever you want with it. S Slayer is very much similar. I think it's a Reactor plugin for Native Instruments stuff. That essentially works the same way. You just have a database, you feed it into it, does the stuff. Um, and something that I learned super recently is like just make like a just have fun with experimenting and making a palette of sounds and then picking and choosing from that. Uh, Not like necessarily just designing one at a time. Just like make a bunch of weird things that no one's heard before, or like something that sounds good for that genre that you're designing for, and just have a huge your own library of that, and then you can pick and choose and do whatever you want with it, because you can do so much with like the same source and make it sound like this is UI or this is a whoosh or something like that. um, and then as far as like plugin chains, it really that also just depends too. I did a redesign last year that was just like use simple source and use maybe like one or two plugins to get across the I guess that just to make it fit, I guess, like how to do designing with minimalist stuff, and uh anything as simple as like frequency shifting, like with kilohertz, that frequency shifter plugin, and then adding a reverb tail to it gets stuff across super well too. And then you can do like for sci-fi stuff, there is a lot of plugin stacking that you can do to just get like a lot of movement. Um, and then another technique too is for like crackly bits. You can use RX's like denoise or declip, decrackle, and then just output the just the clicks. And because you're like the main point of that tool is like you want to get rid of it, but then what does it sound like if you hear just that? And they're all processed, and it makes like different textures, and it's super sick.
Yeah. I don't think there's any like one process that a lot of people follow. Like for
Yeah.
me, and I think a lot of people do this, is just you find a plugin and you're like, I wonder what this button does, or I want to really think outside the box on this plugin. And I think Arturia and um, some other things that you can do with like synthesizers can really also are like also super fun to like mess around with and get noises. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I like randomization. I mean, it sounds very stupid. I mean, what I try to tell you is, for example, to have like randomize every Reaper. Like in Reaper, you can randomize like the parameters from like a synthesizer, but you could randomize it very minor. For example, I've created a script that can randomize every parameter. I just have to set it, for example, to 2%, and I can generate, for example, if I made like a sound, and I could just do randomization, and it will randomize every parameter except for a few things to avoid like very strange things. But there's also a nice way to um, to add a lot of randomization to like a very like synthesized sound, for example. It could be like a click or just like a whatever you're making. It's also nice, and I like that idea about like when like the amplificators, the variations. I almost forget that I have that. I should use it more, like to for example randomize the audio elements and just start randomizing the take marks that you just choose different samples. And if you do that for like 4 stacks of layered audio, and you just start listening to all those random output, yeah, that's nice. And if you then have like a chain with some processing going on, it's also nice to hear what is going to happen if you do it every time.
Mhm. And if
Yeah.
anything, it helps you inspire what those designs could be, because you're like, oh, this is just a it's a happy accident that happened. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I should actually
Yeah.
do this more or something. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like the, yeah, how do you say it in English? It's like happy accident is the story of my life. It's just like I have to feel like everything that I'm happy with is like a happy accident. So yeah,
We're all
but
just doing Bob Ross paintings, and everything is a happy accident.
yeah,
So
it's just experimenting all the time, and just storing the things that are nice, and essentially, yeah. But you also learn from those moments, and then you can reuse it or use like a template. For example, you made something that wasn't really expected. I always try to save that as a template, and I try to give it like a certain name that it also is easy to find. For example, I have like a lot of in Reaper I have a lot of chains now of different kind of categories. For example, fantasy, anime, cartoon, magic, and everything like that, and everything that fits into a category. I try to save it that way. So whenever what I also do is like for example in Reaper, you can, if you're happy with something, you can save like the track with the MIDI and all the automation and everything. And I try to do the save it as a track template as well. Like a multi-track template sometimes, even to have like some variations as well. And
Mhm.
it's like a starter kind of kit for sound design. It's nice because sometimes then when you're going to work on a project, then you're gonna need a lot of like cute sounds already. Would have like a starting point somewhere. So but yeah, but those are mainly happy accidents as well. It's like you're just trying things, and you save what you like and you don't save what you don't like.
one thing I'm gonna be doing with my kids is taking my recorder, and we're just gonna play with their toys, because I've noticed some of the toys that kids have make some awesome clicks and stuff, and I'm like, okay, maybe, and that can include my kids. Um, I know like Ben Burt would go around with his recorder everywhere, and he found that wire coil at a radio station, and he smacked it, and he loved the sound, and that became, you know, like the iconic Star Wars laser. Pew! So like happy accidents, I think, is just a part of part of our job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, the hour is almost up, but does anyone have any questions or want to talk about other things, other processes?
Was the limit an hour? Because I did have a thing I wanted to share, but if it's an hour, then it'd be too long anyways.
It can be longer than an hour. By all
Oh,
means.
okay.
Please share.
I mean, it's pretty gun intensive, so I don't know if that's all right.
Yeah.
But it's not anything UI related or whatever. But one thing that I really wish I saw more of in like gun processing, just, dude, shaper box. This is the method, all right? Shaper box for gunshots. This thing's crazy, all right? I just love this thing, and I need to see more people using it for guns because, like, it's like a one-stop solution for like pitch, compression, uh, filters, or like sub reinforcement, um, even like transient shaping. Like, it's everything. So like, you use the distortion as a compressor rather than an actual distortion. Like, bring that up. This thing, maybe like soften the transient or something. I don't like this gunshot. I'm using something else. Yeah, perfect.
I feel stupid, man. I have that, but I've never thought of using it that way.
That's what I'm saying, man. It's the method, dude. More people eat. I don't know. It's just so good for gunshots. It's like it was made for gunshots.
So your stream is very garbly on my end, and it looks like
Is it really?
hieroglyphics.
Oh no.
So what program
Uh-oh.
is this? Just so
This is Reaper, but it
I know,
doesn't.
but what plugin is this to?
Oh, this is Shaperbox.
Okay, I'm recording this session, so just for
That's all right.
for anyone who watches,
It's,
so they can. There we go. I
hold on.
see it now.
That's looking better.
I can see with my special eyes.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we can just start talking about gun processing because that's really like I've spent like more than like I don't know, more than a year at least on just like exclusively gun work. And so I've I don't know. I've refined this stuff pretty deep in terms of just like getting these sounding crazy really quickly. And so I mean there's just so much you can do without even messing with the track or
Right. Alex, can you tell me a little bit about you?
yeah. Let me see. I just I do whatever work I can come across, and one of the projects that I have done work in was this Aftertouch gun library. They have like I think the collection is nearing 300 guns, and Tyler has me slowly working through all of these, and it's taking forever. But it gives me a lot of time to just refine the gun process a ton, and I have a whole system where like I basically emulate the like game gunfire systems straight within Reaper, so I can just print them, and then that's the mix, and it has the fullness of a game audio gunfire mix.
Yeah.
And
If you guys haven't seen that video, you should watch it. It's super sick.
yeah, I can go over it during this session too, but there's the video, so I don't know if it's
Do you mind
I've
posting the video?
seen it as
oh,
well.
sure. I'm just a big gun nerd. I don't know. That's that's what I do.
There's nothing wrong with that.
All right. Let's grab that.
I went
It's
to like a firefighter
in
day
here.
in my city, and I was really weird because I was so excited about like there was like try on our armor section, and I was like,
Yeah.
and I just was like shaking everything and like playing with everything, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, listen to the sounds, guys! Come on, it's amazing! Listen to the Foley." So I get it.
I'd be too embarrassed in this situation.
Oh, I'm like, I
to
don't
do
care.
it. It's funny. Oh, that doesn't sound good. But so like I also use the high pass filter as almost like a I don't know if you guys have used Boom Library Enforcer before. It just kind of like adds a little enveloped sine wave, or it can be other shapes too. But I find this way easier to use than that because again, it's in the same plugin. You can just control like the entire timbre of your gun within one plugin, and that's really freaking sweet. Trying to find something with like automatic gunfire because I think this is where this like really shines. Because it's good for like linear stuff too. What do we have? Anything? Where's the automatic stuff? Okay, but that didn't sound good. Okay, that'll work. So if you envelope the high pass position and kind of add an envelope to it with the transient, is another like. But yeah, on automatic stuff, this is like where it really kind of shines. Maybe I want it quicker because I don't like how it sounds at all. You know, there's just so much you can do. Oops.
Pretty nice, man.
But yeah, that in combination with the I don't know, I guess I'll open up one of those designs and show the what I have. It's a nice one. That sounds cool. So yeah, that's how I've been designing all these guns, which is I feel like it's pretty different than normally people like take stuff, they layer it. I layer stuff, it's good for processing layers too, but it's really I haven't seen people use Shaperbox, but it's like a really powerful tool for guns, just in general.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I've seen Shaperbox used for like UI stuff and maybe like a few other spells or whatever, but yeah, never for guns. So like just seeing the way you use the distortion aspect of it to bring out the tail it already makes it sound like
Yeah.
it's been pre-designed, which
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
It's-
this being like awesome for like different genres, like sci-fi and all that crap.
Oh
It
yeah,
makes
yeah,
me
for sure. Because
excited.
there's like phasers in here, and like
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. So there's like a ton of stuff in here that they just add like a pitch shifter that you can you can envelope follow with this in the same way. There's like a verb bit crusher. This might be kind of useful for a sci-fi thing.
I feel pretty stupid, man, because I use this a lot, but I use it mainly for music kind of stuff. But I also do
Yeah,
like
well,
sound
that's
design,
what
like
it's
more.
designed. That's what it's intended for. For like for sidechaining your sidechain bus or something like that. But it's great for this.
And
And then yeah, so I
Don't feel stupid.
What was it?
Like you can, I figure you can use anything for anything. So
But then yeah, I in that video I detail this process where like this looks like a disaster whenever it comes to in the actual FX chain, like the window that usually people use in Reaper. So you kind of have to use this this extension for it, but I plug all that into the system that kind of just lets me like audition them in an actual game audio gunfire system. Yeah, just kind of sweet.
Yeah, that rules.
And then you can add like a little, change the pitch of them. I don't know. That's the cool part. But yeah, I detail how to like put all that together in the video as well. But mainly the thing that I want to share was using Shaperbox in combination with the designs because yeah, I feel like that's just the most powerful plugin for gun designs, and I think it's like $100. It's like really, I don't know, it's just great.
that's
So
really cool. Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, no, this the system also lets you. I really want to work on a game at some point. I had the opportunity to work on a game like 2 years ago, but that game went bankrupt. So, or like the studio went bankrupt. So, but and I kind of didn't really know what I was doing back then, if I'm gonna be honest. But um,
A lot of us are at that spot, so don't. It's fine.
but whenever I get to work on another game, this designing like this within the system that I detail in that video is like amazing for like doing game audio stuff. I imagine. I haven't, I haven't worked on a game in 2 years. But being able to design them and audition them within an actual game audio system, and then,
Mhm.
So you'll never be like surprised if it sounds different in engine or whatever. Because that's something I ran into a lot. I'd get them in the engine and I'd be like, what the hell, this sounds terrible.
Yep.
But then you can also just like, oh, well, I don't have the crap. I don't know. I have a preset for this. Hold on. Somewhere. Yeah. Boom. Now that they're all designed in layers, like, you would in, uh, for a game, you can also export them really well, just really easily like this. And you gotta name your tracks, of course. Yeah. Yeah, it also just lets you export them pretty easily with the batch converter. But I think this is probably like a more general the batch converter. I'm sure many people already use that. Um, but I'm pretty terrible at explaining things. So if you guys have any questions, like please. Yeah.
No, this is awesome because sometimes, like during our stuff, we'll get just like one reference because somebody fired once, and we're like, okay, how do we make this, more variant and awesome? And I can see this tool absolutely helping us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, hey, Alex, that was really cool. I've never really seen gun design before, so yeah, thanks for sharing. I have a question about that. You're using Reaper, right?
Yeah.
The thing on the left, and it might be a stupid question, but can that be used for like a music system instead? To audition like loops and
Oh, like in Ableton, like the vertical thing? Does that mean?
yeah, I'm just thinking like because during my process I have to loop within Logic and then bounce out, then move to Wise. But if I can pre-audition it with that thing, if I understand it correctly, is that possible?
You um I guess you could. The important part is like finding how to trigger it on sync with the beats, right? But the whole thing about this, whenever slicing with this tool, the way that I'm slicing it, the actual like references to the Reaper projects are stored in the sampler instances. So whenever you make changes to the sub projects, you can just refresh the project references, and these will update as well. You don't have to do any more like slicing and re-importing and everything. So if you can find a way to like slice it with the beats, and then add them to a container and trigger the container samplers, then you could go into the sub project, make changes, refresh the master project, and then hear that like in place, you know.
Okay.
But I think there's like, if you look through the Reaper extension for, I think people have made remakes of like the Ableton vertical view that you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing that's great about Reaper is the modding community. People have modded it like, we'll make this look like Pro Tools. There's also scripts for Reaper to talk to Unit or to Wise. So Wise has scripts within Reaper itself. I haven't used it personally, but it would be something you should look into to see if you can also use that in tandem.
Yeah, because I just started trying to transfer my workflow into Reaper, so I'm not familiar with it at all. But if this is the case where I can addition things within it, like you were saying, to have a mock-up of Wise or have it kind of connect there without having to export stuff, that can really improve workflow on my side. But thanks, Alex. That's really cool.
Yeah, but do you know what also might be nice for you? Like that guy that just left, Jacob, he also made like a Reaper thing, especially for music. It's like a nice way to expose like music segments and prepare them for export. But you could also have like a navigation kind of panel where you can just preview the segments, and it would like isolate that segment and play everything related to it. And it's a nice way to maybe not really test, but at least you could like preview and prepare for
Yes,
export and
can you-
everything.
Can you just repeat the name there for me, please?
Yeah, it's Jacob Westerberg. He made it. That app is like AMAP is going beta, I believe, soon. So he's also in the server. He also mentioned something in general too, that he said he's going. So he just left.
I see here in the
Oh,
chat.
that's
Okay.
okay.
No,
Yeah, but
Thanks.
he also made something could be nice, and yeah, there's also like a Ableton kind of thing made in Reaper that can also be like something that sounds very close to that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like I've seen an exact like remake of what you're talking about there, the Ableton vertical view.
Yeah, and I also feel like, especially with the AI thing, that I mean, considering the opinions about what everyone has about it, it's so easy to create scripts nowadays by just generating the things that you want, you know. So you could even make it yourself nowadays, even if you don't really understand Lua yet, and it's also easier to learn as well. No.
Kind of thing that
Oh, and it reminds me, there's that new AI plugin where you can ask it to be whatever plugin you want it to be.
Yeah.
It scares me.
I also
But I can see it as being helpful at the same time. So I'm like,
created something now. I can generate MIDI inside Reaper, but it's very limited, and I'm trying to find ways to make it work like very fluid and local, but still far away. But I want to, for example, create with some help from AI or algorithms to, for example, have like a drum sequence that I've made. I could make like a lot of variations based on the pattern, so I can just experiment with different kind of things, you know. But I could also, for example, create a bass line based on my harmony that I've created, and it just makes things to have more variation based on the music that you have, so to be able to work a little bit more efficient, so you don't have to do the tedious tasks anymore. Because sometimes, I mean, music is always creative work, but sometimes it's also monk work, you know, where you have to do like very in the MIDI, doing everything hand by hand. It doesn't have to be that way.
So you're saying you're making like, if I understand you correctly, it creates different variations automatically off of the information that you feed it?
Yeah, I can select MIDI clips and I can just let AI create variations based on it, or continuation, or I can transform it to something else. It's like a built-in kind of script that I've prepared, and it works with every model that exists. And you can use it local, but you can also use it with cloud-based APIs and things like that. But it's still work in progress.
Oh, that's cool. That's great. I sometimes think about this AI situation, and well, more often than not, unfortunately, and being optimistic about it. You know, if we can somehow, well, I'd like to see if I can create my own derivative works to amplify, you know, just the amount of work that can be done if you can feed, for example, a system um, just your template base, and it can give variations on that. Because if the world's moving at this pace, and well, the machines are pumping out audio and whatever it is, you know, it's definitely scary. But trying to stay optimistic and like seeing it as a tool is a struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really would love a Star Trek Next Generation holodeck, and I know AI is going to be a part of that. So I'm like, help us make the holodeck. But at the same time, yeah, it's hard. It's a love hate thing.
Mm.
Well, thank you so much, Alex, for sharing all that stuff. Does anyone have any last bit questions? Outbursts of emotion?
I just sent Alex a message, but I was curious if when you use Shaperbox, if you're gonna make in-game assets, do you just batch process some stuff, or is it every time you go in, you change parameters?
The game assets,
Yeah, because sometimes I find what I've done is I never like with this. It's kind of cool, right? Because you can pull out the tail with the distortion, but at least with the way I work right now, like sometimes I'm just trying to find the transient, and then I'll build everything else around that. So I tend to like batch process transients, which might be weird, but
so I'm doing like I'm building around like specific gunshot recordings, and you know, to enhance them and layer them and fill them out, of course. You know, the shaper box is more just to kind of strengthen individual layers, so that I don't have to do as much work per design. It's just it makes it quicker, is really what it does. But for the batch processing, really the variations comes from like me running different gunshots through this, right? Like this is all the same recording, but there are different shots in the session. So the variations are just, they're gonna come out sounding different. And since these are sub projects and I have it set to save, or like it renders the sub project every time that I do save the sub project. And since these are references to the sub project, the changes I make just gets printed to this. And so all I have to do is select it, and you know, the reference to the sub project has all the changes that I've made, right?
got it. Cool. And this is all for Aftertouch Audio?
Yeah.
Damn, that sound okay, cool. Yeah, they sound great. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to do it on a game sometime, because I mean, it just seems like it's perfect for that, you know? I don't know. One can dream.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you
cool.
so much.
Definitely gonna try that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any last minute questions?
How often do you guys host? Well, is it monthly or weekly? I really.
I try to make it monthly. It kind of goes off of my schedule, which I'm sorry, I'm busy a lot. So it's been a while since we've had one of these. But I try to do it monthly. But you guys are free to even host your own things. Hop in, say I want to share this or whatever. So
No, it's really cool. In South Africa, the industry is pretty much developing, so there's no real online communities dedicated to audio. It's mostly developers and not a lot of people chatting about audio. So it's nice to be with like-minded people.
do you guys have a audio group for your country at all, or like in this?
It's more because that's one thing. Even though I'm still exposing myself to the industry, I don't see a lot of audio groups. It's mostly the channels that I'm on is development groups or game development. Very few audio groups, and maybe I've missed something. So I'm not 100% sure.
I know
But I
there's
was thinking maybe I should host my own one.
yeah, I know there's other communities out there. But I mean, I was the same way. That's why I created this group. I asked LinkedIn. I was like, "Who wants to get in a chat?" And like 300 people messaged me saying, "Let's get in a chat and talk audio." So I was like, "Okay, let's start a Discord." Um, I would highly check out Air Wiggles. They are a great resource. I highly recommend if you have like you can spearhead. So in the United States, each state we have like the audio group of California, the audio group of Utah, et cetera, et cetera. Um, trying to make something like that for your community. Air Wiggles is trying to do a mass community day. I can't remember when. I posted about it though on our in our Discord somewhere, but just to get more involved in the community that way as well.
Yeah, no, it's so useful, because I often, well, I find value in listening to other people's interpretations of their processes. Never mind if it's different topics
Yeah.
Or genres or whatever. It's useful, and I think I often just sit and not hide by choice, but you're so isolated in your work process that
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to soundboard with people.
It is.
So I definitely try and get our own community thing going. It's been in my mind for a while now.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for hosting this. It was amazing.
Yeah, and please, if you do end up thinking about starting that like a chapter, um, in wherever you're located, I don't know if you do it by city or whatever, but let me know. I can get you connected with a bunch of people, help you get that started.
Okay.
Because I like you said, it's being in audio can sometimes be isolating. Even though I work for EA, like I'm alone a lot because I'm in the mobile side. So I love just bouncing ideas off of people, and I get so excited when like I want to go buy Shaper Box right now and put all the sounds in there and see what happens. So
It's true. And is it because it's a smaller department that you
no.
are involved with that it's
Oh, yeah, mobile is considered like we're on the bottom tier, and then there's like the AAA companies, so we get like a lower budget, but so I'm a
okay?
I have to be a master of all things.
Yeah. And would that actually, if we still have time, I have a question about not necessarily positioning, but How in the industry is it? I've been seeing a lot of people mentioning that it's moving towards a generalist approach for like working within the industry instead of specializing, like only in my case composition. Even though I still do a little bit of sound design for like sci-fi stuff, it's not generating UI or anything like that. But the question is, when thinking in the future, I'm trying to understand, how to approach this in a way to be resourceful or actually not get into a what's the word? Not a rabbit hole, but not to like pigeonhole myself into being a specialist when the case is actually to be a generalist.
Yeah, it really depends per studio. Like our Battlefield team has 55 audio people, so they're gonna have specialists. But like for our smaller games, yeah, they want more generalized folks. Like if I were going to do an interview with you, I'd want to know, okay, do you know how to record sounds? Do you know how to use a DAW? Do you know how to put it in Wise? Can you put Wise into Unity? So just kind of that basic workflow of generalism is,
Mm.
yeah, it's a good skill to have, and I also see a lot of people going that way with their studios, is having kind of, you're going to be wearing multiple hats.
Mm. Okay, thanks. Yeah, that's useful.
It will help you in the long run, because even if you do specialize something, you still have that generalist idea, of like how to do other things. So, and it helps you talk to your team more and to other people. So,
Yeah, understand their process.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, nice. I agree with it as well. But from my perspective, I try to find a balance in it. For example, I'm both a generalist and I also have a focus on sound design, like creative sound design and technical sound design. But I've been a composer in the past, but I kind of stopped composing and let other people do it. But sometimes when the opportunity arises, I still compose. But yeah, it depends on the team and it depends on the project as well. It's nice to be able to do something when someone asks you to do it, and you don't have anyone that can do it. But it's still nice. It's also nice to have like a focus that if someone would tell you like, hey, what are you best in, that you can just mention that as well, like something that you feel strong in as well. That's what I try to achieve for myself at least.
Yeah. Like Alex, you love guns, so even if I were to interview you, I'd be like, okay, this is awesome. You could use this for other skills as well. You know how to work in a DAW, and you know how to work this VST to your advantage. Um, the next thing would be like, if I were to ask, I would ask, do you know how to put all of that stuff in middleware, and how to utilize the middleware, and how to put that into a game?
Yeah.
Because I know some teams, people just crank out assets, and then there's one person who's taking all those assets and putting it into Wise and then into the game. Usually the audio tech person is doing that, but
I've always found that so interesting because I feel like half of how good it sounds is how it's implemented,
no,
Um,
yeah,
that
it
that there's
really,
like specifically uh, people that don't design the sounds but only implement it. I feel like that kind of that's part of the sound. That's part of how good it sounds. So
yeah, because you're gonna have
I don't
parameters
understand
in
that.
Wise that it's
Um,
gonna set up a
yeah.
reverb, it's gonna set up, all these states, and you need to know how it's gonna sound in there.
Or even just like part of what I've got going on here and um part of why I think this sounds so good is like I think what makes a sound I guess like boiling down like the essence of how good a sound sounds is like the motion. And at least that's kind of the pattern that I've found when it comes to me like listening to things and what I tend to prefer auditorily. And so like here I've got some parameters where I can like over the duration of the auto fire, I can like reduce the velocity of the shots like that. So like I've got the mech doing that, I've got the tail doing that while the shot kind of rides and then kind of, you know, surfaces above everything over, and that's without that it sounds like oh okay, that sounds like crap. Because I messed up the patch, but that's the kind of thing where like a specifically implementer, I don't think they would do that, So I think that's I just I don't know the idea that like there are roles where they don't design the sounds just kind of I find that surprising, I guess.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember thinking of other teams I've talked to, but I know they'll like get together and talk about it. But I know like the audio director will also be the final person who does like the whole mix and master of everything.
Hmm.
So there's that too. But yeah, I understand. It's weird. But yeah.
I have a question. When it comes to like checking to see somebody's knowledge of middleware, do you guys look for specific things? I guess like maybe how ambiances are hooked up or like emitters within that or rooms or just anything? Or is
It
that normally something that people figure out when they work with you because it's probably different for everybody?
it will be different for everybody, but it also depends on the project and the title that you're applying for. If you're going for like the basic audio, if you saying that, I'm like, oh, okay, so he knows basic knowledge of what that is. Cool. And then I expect you to expand on that skill more in the job field. If you're going for a more senior level, I would expect you to know and have implemented stuff like that before.
Yeah. Okay, because yeah, I was curious because I asked some people, but obviously I don't think too many people have time to sit and watch a whole implementation reel. But I kind of just went through and did like an FPS game and set up some basic systems within that to at least make it feel alive. But the whole time I was doing it, I was like, well, what is priority here? You know? Um, so that's why I was just curious, like if there was any specifics.
Um, so in terms of like demo reels and stuff, the consensus is have your best work, in a demo reel, but also have your best work in an implementation reel to show off you know how to do that as well. Um, I shared Josh Miramontez's page before. He did it all in one. Um, and he showed how he created the sounds, how he put them into a DAW, how he edited it in the DAW, how he put it into Wise, and then how it looked like in the game. And that demo reel got him a job at Blizzard. So, yeah, showing off. We're From what I've been hearing is we're sick of just seeing demo reels because it's like, okay, you can grab any sound you want and put it and edit it in layers. Cool. Do you know how to like mix those, and do you know how to manipulate those? You need to show us that. And do you know like the game aspect of it? Like, are you thinking about the player? Are you implementing it and setting up a system where this is going to be more important for the player, and how are you doing that kind of a thing? We're getting more interested of, if you can make good sounds, fine, but show us that you know how to implement it.
Got it. Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, I have to skedaddle. So thank you everybody for joining the monthly meeting. I'm sorry it's been so long. I've been so busy. I'm doing so many things, you guys. So, if any of you are in the States, I'm having a Utah Game Developers Conference that I'm planning in May. If any of you are in London, I will be in London in June hosting an audio event as well. And yeah, I'm also doing a charity stream again at some point. I'm planning that as well. So, woo!
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool.
Awesome.
I'll see you later.
Bye.
So yeah.
Bye.
Cheers.